I think me going to prison is really what saved me from me.
Welcome, Eric. Good to finally meet you, virtually, if not in person.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor to talk and be able to relate to somebody else.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, so how long have you been out?
April 14th was 10 years. And so I did, I got out. I did 5 years on supervised probation. It was supposed to be indefinite, but after 5 years, they were like, hey, look, there's no need for you to be here anymore.
That's awesome. And that's the kind of probation thing we need, where it's actually like, does this make sense? Does this serve a purpose rather than, hey, let's just lock this person up forever or hold this over their head forever?
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe me, I get it. For people that are getting a second chance, they need to have a little bit of supervision. So I'm not against that because, I talked to my probation officer and he'd talk about, he wouldn't say names, but he'd say, yeah, I get people in here all the time that either quit their job, get in trouble, can't pass a UA. And I get it. A lot of people, the biggest problem people have is they don't like people having to check on them,
Okay. So you did how many years in prison here in Virginia?
I did 6 years at Pocahontas, and it was right when Pocahontas was built. So it was a gang unit, which was a maximum security facility. I got put there, who knows why. So I stuck out like a sore thumb.
I can imagine. And
but the big thing was it was my first time ever. I'd never been to prison, and when I get there, I don't know what to expect. So I just kept my mouth shut, didn't talk to anybody until I figured out a routine and how things worked. And I started going to class, any kind of program, AA. I didn't have a drinking problem, but I went to AA anyway, just to, get a better understanding of how things work. So I told, when I finished my probation period, I told my probation officer, I said, believe it or not, I think me going to prison is really what saved me from me. 6 years, it was, because it took about 3 years for me to finally get on track to being able to figure out who I was and what I wanted to be. So, and I did have a little help along the way while I was incarcerated with another incarcerated individual doing a life sentence. And he pretty much opened my eyes because he saw a lot of him and me, and what made me stop and actually start listening to him was I was pissed off and I was about to make a bad choice, and he stopped me and said, hey, don't be me. And that pissed me off even more because another inmate was trying to tell me what to do. But I stopped and I listened to him, and I'm like, crap. And that was when that I switched that flip that switch. There you go.
Okay, so once you flipped that switch, about 3 years into your sentence, did you become one of those guys who was always like learning and planning and figuring out what he was going to do?
I was trying to figure out, because when you're in a position like that, you're surrounded by negativity about 90% of your day, and that people are going to tell you, you'll never be anything, you'll never amount to anything, you'll come back, you're going to be a statistic to the system, and I didn't want to be that. So everything that I could learn, I learned. Everything that I could read, I would read. If I could take advantage of a class, I would take the class. And then I got to a point where I felt confident in my own skin that when I would talk to people and you could hear them want to tell you their problem, I would just voice how I felt, how they should go about addressing it. And believe it or not, about 60% of the people that I came in contact with that were released, they are still out in the free world and doing fantastic. And so I feel like I served a purpose, and that's what got me wanting to do this, like talk to you and let you know, hey, there's other people out here like you that, have made it.
What was your plan when you were inside? What was your plan about getting out and the life you were going to live?
So when I figured out what I wanted to do, which was I didn't want to go back to the system, my main focus was I had to get out and make money. But at the same time, I had to remember I can't make up for that lost time. I'll never get that 6 years back. And that's what a lot of people struggle with, is they want to get back the lost time that they have. And so they try and run too fast. Well, then running too fast puts them in bad situations, and bad situations puts them right back where they were. So I just had to remember, every day that when I got out, I had to get myself right first. When I got out, 6 years is a long time, to be out of the free world. So a lot changed. So literally when I got out, I checked in with my probation officer. I went out to the farm, and I didn't leave the farm for a week. Like, I stayed there just to make sure that, everything was turning right in my head. And then I went and found a job. And being a convicted felon, especially I'm covered in tattoos, people look at you a little different. But I'm honest about it. If you hide it, when they find out, they're going to be even more mad than when they first met you. So I went and found my job, which was for an oil field company. And when I first met them, I was in a polo shirt and blue jeans, and they told me no. They looked at me and said, "No, we don't need any help right now." Did I leave? No, I didn't leave. I needed that chance. So I stayed there, and I sold myself to them to give me a shot. So finally they looked at me and said, "You know what? We can use a guy cleaning parts." I'm like, "Hey, that's perfect. I'll work my way up. No big deal." And so that's what really got me rolling.
But this wasn't Virginia, right? You decided to get out of Virginia.
I got out of Virginia. As soon as I was released from prison that day, I made my way to Oklahoma.
Okay.
I had to remove myself. It didn't work in Virginia for me. Virginia has changed so much over the past 30 years that, I knew that if I stayed in Virginia, I would struggle even harder to try and get to what I was trying to accomplish. And so I had to remove myself from, ultimately I was the problem, but the situation was Virginia. And I had to remove myself from the situation to make myself earn a better life.
So you got started working in an oil field. You got started working for an oil company. And where did that path go for you?
So it actually opened a lot more doors because, all I wanted to do when I was in prison, when I finally figured out what it was, is I wanted to work. So no matter what job we went on or how long the shift was, because the job I had, I was on call 24/7, 365 days. There was no days off. It was when the phone rang, you worked. So I made sure that every job I hit, I did it to the best of my ability, and I would try and outwork every single person out there. So more people started noticing this, like the company men and whatnot, the people in charge. They were like, "Hey, when the oil field crashed in 15, and they said, 'Hey, you need to contact this guy. It's not this line of work, but I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy it.'" So I went to building refinery tanks. I was a prefab, cutting parts, preparing them, and then I take them to a welder. The welder will weld it all together. So it takes time, and a lot of people don't understand that they want it right then and now. But the biggest thing is stay out of your own head and take your time.
One of the wealthiest and most successful formerly incarcerated people I know had a massive construction business. And he started off making $7 an hour cleaning up the job site. But he worked harder than anybody else, and then he got promoted. And then finally somebody's like, "Why are you working for this guy? Why aren't you running your own crew?" Started running his own crew. And he was doing so much, the guy said, "Hey, do you want to expand? Like, I'll give you a loan. I'll give you some money to make sure you can hire some more guys. Let's get this going." And it's there. It's one of those things about, like, we show up and we give it our all and we build something. We can build something great. So what does that life look like for you now? Like, I see this trailer you have in the background. You're living in a fifth wheel. So what does your life look like now?
So when I went to work building prefabbing refinery tanks, I learned how to be a pipe fitter. So that opened the door, because one of my old bosses in the oil field, he was a journeyman pipe fitter. Well, when he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I need a pipe fitter helper. You'll be great." I said, "Yeah, sure. I'll give it a shot." And that's sort of like what I'm doing now. But that put me in the door in the construction side of things. And so I got this call to come and take this job as a journeyman pipe fitter. And I was like, "Yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing. I can come right now." And so I just loaded up, and now I make a lot more money as a journeyman pipe fitter than a pipe fitter helper. But it took me 2 years to get the journeyman side.
But so outside of that, you've been smart and savvy with your money. You've got a couple Airbnbs or short-term rentals. You're looking at some more investments. You just basically hit the ground running, and you've clearly built something that, is a life that you're happy with, and I think other people would be happy with.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy in my current position, but I'm not settled. I want more. And now that I've, with all the experiences that I've been able to gain just from talking to people, it's easy to go from a prison mindset and keeping that mindset and still living that life compared to the path that I decided to take, where when I stepped out of prison, I had to shake off that prison mindset and get into the swing of things with normal people, uh, and start learning. So my wife now, she's been real savvy in the real estate game, insurance game. She's real good with money. She's actually the one that turned me on to other, I'll call them influencers, but they're billion-dollar real estate earners. And the more I watch there, the parts that I don't understand, she levels it out for me. Like me, I'm like, hey, let's pay this off, this off, this off. And she's like, well, why don't we just keep making the payments on this and stack our money? That way we can buy our next investment. Cool. That's what I have you for. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
you ever read the book Who Not How?
No, but I have read the book Who Moved My Cheese.
But it's kind of what you're saying about your wife is, a lot of people think they have to know all the parts and do all the pieces. The reality is you just have to know who can do it. You don't have to know how to do it. So
yeah,
that's awesome teamwork.
Yeah. And she doesn't give herself enough credit. Like, I'm the workhorse. Like, I'm the force to be reckoned with, while she's in the back scenes putting it all together. I'm paving the way. And so we make a great team. We have 4 Airbnbs right now. We're on our road right now to gain 4 more, and it's all you learn to do it with no out of pocket money. You just know how to get in the right area, talk to the right people, and trust. If you can earn people's trust will take you a long ways in real estate, work, and life.
So the other thing you do is you do make videos and content, and you talk about your life. And
I do.
So where can people find you, and what is your core message?
My important message is, doesn't matter what situation you're in, whether you've been to prison, haven't been to prison, if you struggle with addiction, if you just are down on your luck. I'm on YouTube. My Facebook, spelled just like my name. You can follow me there. I have a ton of content out on all platforms, even on TikTok. And really my message is just, don't quit on yourself. If you need somebody to talk to, put your pride back behind you and just reach out. We're here for you. We're just normal people, that just want to see people succeed. That's what brings me pleasure. Like, everything that I put out, I don't put out to make money. I will never ask anybody for a dime. What brings me joy is watching other people get better in life.
I really like that with good people. I had I have a house outside the city that I rent to somebody, and I really like it's 2 brothers that rent it, and sometimes they're in town, sometimes they're not. But I told him, I said, hey, I need to store some stuff because I'm getting rid of all my stuff. I'm getting rid of my apartment. I'm just taking off. And he was, they were both career military. And he was like, hey, man, I just got to ask, like, I've had some buddies give their stuff away before. Like, is everything okay? Like, you have any thoughts of hurting yourself? Like, do you need any help? And I just think about how nice it is to have somebody who's willing to ask those questions, but how much pain it takes and how many mistakes and how much loss it takes to get there. But you talk about people doing better. I mean, this is just a guy. I went out there today to check on the house, see if they needed anything, look at storage. And he was like, man, I really need you to do me a favor. And I was just like, man, I don't have a lot of money. Crap. Like, I wonder what broke. He's like, no, my Ducati Diavolo, it's just sitting there and nobody's been riding it. Could you take it out for me? Could you take it for a spin? I was like, you know what? Yes, I can. So I got on the thing, took a beautiful ride around. It's one of those days, and they're just those people that when you find them, it just feels different.
Yeah, it's the joy in the world. Like, there's already enough ugliness in the world. It's time for people like us to, try and spread it out. People have bad days. You got to understand that. But, at the same time, I don't get upset. I don't get bent out of shape. If I'm having a bad day, I just smile and say I'm having a good day, not a great day. It's never a bad day.
So with all that, with everything you've managed to accomplish since prison, with this beautiful 5th wheel trailer, you get to haul around the country while you do pipe fitting and special jobs, with this wife you have at home, these investment properties, you said your thing is don't quit on yourself. But what else would you like the people to know? What else would you like people to hear from your experience?
Even if you run into a failure situation, don't let the failure stop you. A failure is a lesson in life. It's something you learn from. So if you failed the first time, where you failed at. Go and try it again, but try it at a different angle.
Thank you for sitting down with me today. I mean, although I guess you are in the middle of New Mexico in a trailer with not a whole lot to do, so it's not like, I was really that special or anything, but.
Oh, yeah.